It's me, Dusty the Dust Mite, hanging out on this old dusty reverb tank inside of a Fender Deluxe. But guess what? I hear I'm about ready to be evicted by D-Lab.
That's right. We'll get rid of that dust mite and give this Fender Blackface Deluxe a good inspection and see what it needs. So we'll scan the front of the amplifier. This came to me by a local guy here in Michigan. Said it's been in storage for many years. He has not turned it on, which is a good thing, because I believe there's going to be some surprises awaiting us. Let's turn it around. All right, here's the back side of the amp. It is missing the bottom kick panel, and I believe that reverb tank is missing the leather holster. A lot of dust from sitting around, but that's no big deal. It's got a big old Altec speaker in it. Look at that baby. Can't really see the tubes of the transformers yet, so let's get that chassis out. Alright, I pulled off that upper board so we can see the chassis. Reverb driver transformer's pretty rusty. It looks like it has original transformers in it. It's got Penta 6v6 tubes and an old Great Britain GZ34. It's a good thing. And there is the original tag inside. You can see the code is OH. So you can look that up to figure out what year. I believe this is a 64. Alright, let's get that chassis pulled. Alright, got the mounting straps removed. So you guys are seeing this as I see it. So far it's looking okay. And there it is. There's the inside. Looks like some caps have been replaced. Everything looks pretty decent. Probably looks a lot better than that top side. I'm going to cut and we'll get this thing on the table. Okay, we'll sweep the chassis. See, we've got a lot of heat damage from the tubes. Chrome is actually peeling off the chassis, and of course I already spotted that rusty driver transformer. So I would say that this thing must have been stored in a wet environment. Unfortunately, the corrosion has done a little bit of work on that chassis. Let's pop a little doghouse cover, see what's underneath. There we go. We'll lift the cover, see what's underneath. Well, looky there. It's been recapped. Well, that's a good thing. So this amp may not be as bad off as what I think. I think we'll go ahead and put it on a variac and see if it powers. Alright, delayed that last order. I should have looked at the positive ends of these caps. You can see goo coming out of quite a few of them. And these are some off-brand Chinese cap. So nope, I'm not going to bring it up on a variac until we put in some fresh meat. Here's a new cap lineup. I have a 47 microfarad at 500 and 322s at 500, all made by F&T. The 47 will go in the place of these two caps, because those are actually two 22s that are wired in parallel, and then we'll put in the individual 22s. There's a new set of F&Ts installed. There's the old ones that were already leaking out of the ends. I have no idea how old these are because they don't have date codes. That should be another clue that these are inferior capacitors. Don't put these things in your amps, guys. They're going to fail, possibly cause damage, and then you're going to be right back in there putting in good ones. Alright, we'll sweep the bottom side of the amp. These little caps are all Rubicons. I guess they're okay. We'll leave those in place. Down here on the brass ground plate, I found a ground wire that's broke right off. Some evidence that somebody attempted to resolder it. That didn't go so well. New screen resistors on the 6v6 output tube sockets. Transformer looks okay. I don't see any bubbling goo coming out of it. And the negative bias cap has also been replaced. So I'm going to fix that ground and then we'll attempt to power up. Alright, we're getting ready for the initial power up. But first, there's a few things I need to check. Number one, the negative bias to those output tubes. Those 6v6s looked pretty fried. Okay, so here's what you do. You pull the rectifier tube. You're going to clip your DC voltmeter to pin 5 of one of the 6V6s. And then I'm going to use a variac. This is a new D-Lab variac. Very low current, easy to spot problems. So I'm going to bring it up. You're going to watch that meter. We're looking for the negative bias. So it is present on that tube. Let me flip it to the other 6V6. Alright, we're on the other 6V6. I'm also paying close attention to the amperage. So as I bring it up, you'll see our negative bias coming up. I also see the 6-volt lamp on the front of the amp coming up. So that's a good sign. Don't see any jumping of amperage, indicating there's no intermittent shorts. Next thing I want to check is the high voltage that's going to be going to that GZ34. So I'm connected to one of the high voltage windings coming off the power transformer. We still go to ground because that is a center tapped power transformer. I'm going to bring up the variac and look at the meter. I'm on the 1000 volt AC scale. There's no reason to bring it all the way up. The intent is just to make sure the high voltage is there. So everything looks good. I'm going to get the rectifier tube in. We'll hook up a speaker, see what happens. Here we go. I've got the rectifier tube back in. Power and high voltage are on. We're going to watch this current meter because now I'm actually bringing up the high voltage and of course those new filter caps that I just installed. I do not have a signal applied to the amp. I'll be listening to see if there's any white noise coming out of it when we turn up the volume. There's 90 volts. You see your increase in current. That's a high voltage coming up. And I'm hearing a wisp of noise. So there's 100 volts. We're going to just leave it there. Oh wait. She's dirty and crunchy. Ooh. Little popper there. That's probably one of those output tubes. I saw a little fluctuation in amperage. Whoa, yep, we're going to go ahead and kill it. I'm guessing one of those 6V6s are hurt. But it did come up, so I'm going to give it a cleaning. Check the 6V6s and we'll retest. Alright, clean the controls. And that terrible popping is gone. It was not the 6V6s. They actually test pretty good. Okay, let's put a signal into it and test all the functions. I got a looper hooked in. I'm on the normal channel right now. My bass. Treble, that looks good. Now on the vibrato, I've already put in a jumper for the tremolo. So that looks okay. Let's check out the reverb. Yep, looks good. Alright, so I do hear some noise in the reverb when it's all the way down. You can hear the little lightning storm in the background. I'll unplug the input. And that could possibly just be a bad tube or a dirty tube socket. But I think this thing's really coming along well. So I ran the preamp tubes across my tube checker. The only ones that look suspicious are the 12AT7s. So this one was in the inverter. It was down to about 50%. So I thought, well, let's put it on the Micronaut and see if it's noisy. Because, you know, we do have that little background noise going on. So there. Check the other triode. I hear just a little bit of pinging in it, but that wouldn't cause what we're hearing. Now here is the reverb driver tube, okay? So it's a 12AT7 also. Let's put that on the Micronaut and see what she does. Yeah. Now it's funny because this tube checked fine on the tube checker. She was right around 75 to 80%, but it obviously has heater cathode leakage. So that is probably what was causing the terrible lightning bolts in the reverb. Let's check a 12AX7 just for the fun of it. So by the way, this is my newest Micronaut. It's got a nice custom painted front and this beautiful Simpson meter. So there is one of the AX7s. Nice and quiet. No problems with that tube. That's the beauty of the Micronaut. It can show you things that your tube checker can't. In this case, you know, you can do the audible test and see if you hear microphonics. And we sure heard a problem with this tube, so I'm going to put in a new set of 12AT7s and we'll retest. Alright, testing the amp after checking the tubes. Still got some little crunchies going on. Now I've got the volume all the way down. That noise is still there. There's my reverb. So now I do not suspect it's a reverb problem. My guess is we got those noisy plate resistors. These are the old original 10%ers. And get all those out. Put in some nice new 5%ers. And see if that helps with these little snaps and pops we're getting. There's a good one. Very random. Alright, there's the first set of the new 100K resistors installed. These are carbon film resistors. I would not recommend that you use those metal film, okay, because they have a tendency to be slightly inductive. These are the old carbon resistors. Now I changed these just because I've seen this problem in the past. There's no real way to test it. The resistors are cheap and the upgrade will be good for the amp. Alright, another thing while you're changing out these two plate resistors, you'll see this disc type 0.02 microfarad cap. That's in the audio line, and these caps are known to be like little diaphragms. They like to generate noise, so I always change that out. No more popping. Tapping on the tubes. Make sure there's no sensitivity there. So I'd say the plate caps were a big part of it. They appear to be fine now. I'm gonna let it cook for a while, but she's awful quiet. So I got the amp connected to the reverb tank that's in the cabinet, and that appears to be operating. So that's a good thing. It's not as springy as the Accutronics one that I was testing with, but it is operating. So that's a good sign. The amp is nice and quiet. So the next step, we got to get in here and give her a clean up, and I have to change the speaker plug because it's a straight style and it sticks out of the back of the cabinet.